Hi everyone, Kirk here with Kirk's Motorrad Shop in Crystal Lake, Illinois, bringing you another do-it-yourself video on the LT or a K1200 of pretty much any variety, as long as it's got a similar engine. So this video is on changing out the rubber dogs, these things right here, these little rubber dogs or cogs that go between the alternator and the engine. And why would you want to swap those out? Well, over the years they get very hard, or sometimes they deteriorate altogether and they fall apart, and your motorcycle can start making what sounds like a knocking noise when it's at idle. And I'll demonstrate a little bit of that noise right here. So as you can hear, that noise is, it's because the alternator is kind of banging back and forth just a little bit with the engine at idle. As soon as whether you pull the clutch in, change the RPMs a little bit, or you put a load on the alternator, or if you rev up the engine, that noise will go away and you don't hear it. Is it hurting anything? No, it's really not. So I mean, if you hear that noise and you can put up with it, I kind of just think of it as like I don't know, just part of the LT, just kind of the noise that it makes. But if you want to get in there and change it out, do it while you're doing the clutch, okay? If you ever have to get into your clutch, that's the time to go in there and take care of this one, change out these little dogs. I'm going to show you how to do it. Now, there are some extra steps that you do need to take when you are going after these, more so than just removing the transmission for the clutch or lowering it down. You have to lower the engine down a lot further than you do when you're doing your clutch. So you have to make some extra prep in order so that you don't break anything, you don't stress anything out too much. You want to really double make sure that there's no wires or anything that are hanging down, any kind of hoses that could possibly rip apart or separate. I'm going to go over some of those things right now, and we will continue on with that. So what I've done on this motorcycle next to me right here is I've already taken out the transmission because I had to do the clutch on it. You don't necessarily need to remove the transmission to do this job, but you do need to remove everything prior to that. So you might as well just go in there and remove it. It does make it a little bit easier. You got more room to work when you don't have the transmission in the way. So do everything prior to that. If you don't know how to get your transmission out or do the clutch, I have a whole lot of video series on just showing how to do that. I'm not going to repeat any of that here. One of the things you need to do is remove the breather hose that's on top of the engine, because as the engine keeps continuing to travel down, you risk separating it further up, and that is no fun at all to try to get to put back on there. So all you're going to do is just loosen up the hose clamp here and slide it off of there. Use a screwdriver or something like a big screwdriver or something to slide the thing off. There we go. And we're just going to leave that like that. Another thing you're going to do is make sure that this is off of the radiator. Okay, just pull it off of this part of the radiator, because you need the radiator to be able to move a little bit as this engine comes down and will hit with the hose at the bottom. It needs to be able to push away. You might need to take off the two up here, but I'm going to try to get away with not taking those two off. Well, let's go over to the other side though. Okay, what else you have to do here is you need to loosen up this radiator all the way. So pull it off of the little mooring spots. You got little C-clips that are holding it in with some washers. You just pull those out and pop it loose. So you can get, the reason you do this is because up in the front, so right up here in the front, this hose that goes over to the fitting that's on top of the engine. When you start lowering this down, this moves too much and it will put too much pressure on that fitting, and you could potentially crack it or cause a leak. So you just want to make sure that this is nice and loose so it has room to flex and, you know, kind of move away as the engine comes down the rest of the way. Once you do that, just give it another once over. As you can see here, I've already removed the fuel rail. The box is already loose. Everything's loose here. But you have this large cable conglomeration coming down here, and you want to be certain that nothing is going to pull too tight. And right now, this is going to pull too tight. Okay, this is the I'm not really showing it there, dang it. So the coil pack is going to pull too tight, so I'm going to just go ahead and remove the coil wire. You definitely want to remove your sensor. This is the temperature sensor that goes into the block behind the coil. So just it's the one with the two prongs on it right there. Unhook that and let it just kind of hang. Make sure you got some slack in it. You can see the other end of it right here. If you leave this on, it is inevitable that you're going to damage it, and your bike won't start. In fact, once you damage that wire, and you're going to have to get a new one. So it looks like I've got everything already about as far as it can go. One thing prior to this that I did earlier that I obviously am not going to be able to show right now is I disconnected the two wires that go on the alternator. There's a large like a 13mm nut, and there's a single connector behind that. You have to pull that off, and there's a very small like blue wire that's attached as part of the electrical system. You just pull it and it comes off. So it's just two wires, and that's it. Now I'm going to go ahead and start lowering the engine the rest of the way. I'll reposition the camera so you guys can get underneath here with me. I'm going to lower the engine the rest of the way to try to make some room to be able to get the alternator out. I might have to raise up the back of the motorcycle a little more, but I'm prepared to do that as I go forward here. All right, get this thing moving. So I'm just going around the motorcycle right now, double checking things to make sure that nothing is gonna pull out or gets too stressed. All right, I'm gonna drop the engine down a little bit now. Hopes that I can get this thing out. It should have enough room now. We're pretty darn close to it. So you can see this bolt right here. That one's got to come out. There's one right up on the other side here, and there's a third one all the way at the top. So I'm going to loosen those up and see if I can get it to move out past everything. I think I can probably get it to tilt now and drop out without going too much further here. Do make sure that you disconnect your battery before you do all this, because you don't want to bump into something and have sparks shooting out. Alright, I'll try to pull this out now. Don't know if it'll make it or not. Doesn't look like it. Alright, so you can see up there how the little dog system works, and as you can see in here, there's the dogs. They're actually in pretty good shape, but I'm going to change them anyway. They are a little bit beat up. There's some rubber on the inside here that is definitely, you know, causing a little bit of slop, a little slack. So you can see the like little rubber pieces and stuff in here. But they just go in the same way. Right there. The new ones are quite a bit larger. You can see the spacing here is quite a bit different. There's almost no space in here, so as you line this thing up and drive it in there, it's going to you know, be a very tight connection. There's going to be no little rattle back and forth, and I think that's where you're hearing that noise. It's just these things are just moving back and forth a little bit and causing noise. Oh, there it goes. So according to the manual, it is 21 Newton meters. I'll lift this up a little bit more now and start bringing some other parts and pieces back into this. So thanks so much for watching this. I hope you got something out of it. Obviously, putting it back together is the reverse order of what you did to take it apart. Just giving you a quick little visual on how to do that job. And if you appreciate these videos and you want to help out, please check those links right down below. You're going to see different ways in which you can help me out financially supporting the work that I'm doing here. And that is through, whether it's through supporting me on Patreon, supporting me through purchasing one of my cool shirts or a poster. Anything that you guys can do is always massively appreciated. And I always do appreciate all those kind emails that I get from all you guys. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. And happy riding and happy wrenching too. Got to keep these old things going. Take care, guys.